Hey there, welcome to Worth It Wednesday. Every Wednesday we send a principle worth learning, a question worth answering, and a recommendation worth taking. Today's principle is that mistake-ridden movement is better than perfectly polished stagnancy. I kind of wrote this just thinking about some of the most effective men, women, leaders that I know, and they all have one thing in common. They all have a bias towards action, right? And really, what is the thing that they all have in common? They all got started, right? They all did something. And so often, I just coincide with people, and if I'm not careful, I can subscribe to this thought process myself of, like, I'm not doing the thing, I'm not taking the action, I'm not moving forward, I'm not taking the step, because I'm saying, well, I just got to figure out if it's what I should do. Should do? What is should do, right? Just do the thing, and in the process of doing the thing, you're going to learn so much more information, right? Because the feedback loop dramatically, massively increases and speeds up the minute you actually take an action. And so you take an action, and in the process of taking an action, you either learn about what success is, or you learn about what failure is. And you know what's so cool is both are helpful. And this kind of applies to something else we talk about all the time with leaders, the path to growth, is do you have a game mindset or do you have a practice mindset, right? Have you ever played spike ball? I love spike ball. And gosh, there was a while back that I played spike ball all the time with my buddy Paul, and there would be a group of us that would play. And spike ball is this game where you hit a ball into the net, right? And the thing is that Paul and I were kind of started playing a lot at the same time, and we were both probably at the same level, decent and fairly athletic, and could kind of play the net a little bit and play with the ball a little bit, right? And so we'd like, oftentimes I'd win a couple and then he'd win a couple, and the teams that we were on would kind of reflect that as the outcomes, right? And what's interesting is I stayed decent, right? And I stayed kind of at about the same level, maybe improved a little bit the more that I played. Paul got like exponentially better. And it wasn't even just a little bit, it was like hockey stick improvement in spike ball. And it's like every time we'd play, he'd have these new moves and he'd be doing these new things and everything. And I just got so frustrated because I get kind of competitive with stuff like this, right? I was like, what is going on, dude? Like, how is this happening? How are you getting so much better than me? And at first I thought, I was like, oh, he's just a better athlete than I am. That's it. It's an identity thing. False, right? The minute you call it an identity thing, that's a cop-out, right? Because then you're saying, I'm just not good enough. False. Okay, so what is it? Well, I didn't figure it out. I was actually talking to Paul one day after his team beat mine pretty bad multiple times, and I was like, dude, you just like, it just feels like you're getting better a lot, like over time, and I'm just not. and I said, I don't know what's going on there. And he said, well, I do. And I was like, okay, please share with me. And he said, dude, you treat every point like a game. I treat every point like practice. And he said, like, I'm able to try stuff and screw up in the process towards getting it. And so he was constantly doing all these serves and learning backspin and jumping over the net. And he didn't feel the pressure of he had to get it right that time, because he was like, well, sometimes the process of getting something right eventually is I have to be able and willing to get it wrong first. And so that's what practice looks like. But he's like, dude, like, you put the expectation on yourself that you have to get everything right off the bat. You treat it like a game. And as a result, like, you never try any new things. And so I know exactly what's coming from you, because I know I never have to expect anything different or new or fresh. And he's like, me, I'm willing to make some mistakes in pursuit of improvement. Treating the game, or treating it like practice and not like a game. And so how does that apply here? He was willing to make mistakes, right? Mistake-ridden movement is better than perfectly polished stagnancy, because your alternative to movement that is ridden with mistakes is just sitting still. And if you sit still, the world is moving forward, so you're moving backwards. And that's where the statement, if you're not growing, you're dying, is actually true, right? Because reality is atrophy. You are going to get worse unless you actively apply yourself to improvement. And therefore, you've got to be willing to make mistakes. Final thing on this, I think it was Carl Jung had a quote that said, unless you're unwilling, no, what did it say? He said, he who is unwilling to look like a fool will never become a master. That's so true. When you do something for the first time, you're gonna look ridiculous. You're gonna get some stuff wrong. You're gonna make some mistakes because it's your first time. But If you do it the first time, then that gives you the ability to do it the second time. And if you do it the second time, that gives you the ability to do it the third time and get a little bit better each time. And then we look up at the 10th time and we say, oh my gosh, you're so good at that. You're not so good at that. You're a fool. But you're a fool that's practiced. And if you're unwilling to make mistakes, you'll never get there. Remember that mistake-ridden movement is better than perfectly polished stagnancy.